Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everybody, I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Alison Arnoff. Alison is an effective communications coach for leaders. She helps them positively impact their career by improving their leadership skills and impact and the company bottom line by raising productivity, engagement, and retention of their teams. She has more than 25 years of experience in management, marketing, sales, and engineering, having worked for industry leaders like Intel, EMC, and Level 3, and 7 startups, resulting in 5 acquisitions and 2 IPOs. She has master's degrees and a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and computer engineering. Alison is a thinking partner for her clients, as well as fierce champion and challenger, helping them maximize their strengths and find their blind spots and biases. Alison uses a self-developed framework to systematically work with her clients on achieving their goals with a lot of room for creative approaches and humor along the way of breakthroughs and growth. An avid adventure traveler, curiosity has driven Alison throughout her life. She travels the world, always seeking unique experiences that show her new perspectives to appreciate life. She applies this same curiosity in working with her clients and fully explores all facets of their business, culture, and uniqueness to help them formulate a success strategy for themselves and their companies. As a former national ranked age group and Division I swimmer, followed by 15 years of triathlons, Alison knows how to challenge herself, find new levels, and the benefits of hard work and dedication. She applies that same work ethic in engaging with her clients. Please join me in welcoming Alison Arnoff. Welcome, Alison.
Hi, Tammy. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's so great to have you here. And thank you for joining us from
Redondo Beach, California, just outside.
Yay.
Yep.
Wonderful. So, work from the inside out. You know, it's all about all the different twists and turns, and you're an adventuresome person, and you've had a lot of different experiences in your career. And take us back. You've done a lot of different things, but take us back to some of your earlier years and how those might have been formative in getting you to where you are today.
Well, I have a really fun story I just learned from my mom just a few years ago. She told me that when I was in 5th grade, my teacher called and told her that the boys don't like that Alison raises her hand before them in math class. She told him to make sure to put me in the advanced class. And he goes, well, she's in the advanced class. And my mom's like, well, I don't know what to do about it. So, 2 things I took from that when I learned it is, one, I think my whole career, I might have annoyed some people raising my hand before them, And second, how grateful I am to have been raised by parents that didn't discourage me from being bright and quick and exploring the things that made me happy. So very, very grateful for that. My affinity for math continued. And in high school, my physics and calculus teachers sat me down and told me about this thing called engineering. And it took off from that. So I went to University of Illinois for engineering as well as swimming. So I swam for them at the same time. So that was really interesting with some professors, because not only was I one of the few women in class, I'm a woman and a jock. So I definitely got some interesting things and surprises when I got decent scores on their tests and things like that. But, it's just, I think for me, I never thought that what I was doing was unique or strange. I was just brought up to go be you, right? And that's who I've always been. And when I left college, I moved out to California to go to graduate school to get my engineering degree. My first company had a program, so that was wonderful that it was paid for and tough life. Come live at the beach. We'll pay you and put you through grad school at USC. Twist my arm, right?
Wow. So was that your first job out of school that you were able to do that?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think my sister and I were brainwashed. We didn't know we could say no. We both were told we were getting advanced degrees at a young age. So I don't think we knew that we had the option to say no. Part of the, my sister and I are second generation American, but my grandmother who came to this country raised us with my parents. And so we definitely grew with a lot of that. We got you here, go make the most of it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I know what you mean. I was raised similarly, not for engineering, but the whole notion was, sure, you're going to get an education. Sure, you're going to go on and do things, not in a high pressured way, just almost matter of factly. And yet I knew a lot of other girls and young women who didn't have those expectations. Just people didn't expect the same things of them. So, for you, this just was what life was for you.
Yeah, it wasn't strange. To me, it wasn't strange that I was a swimmer. I'm short. To make up for my height deficit to compete at that level, I had to lift weights. I mean, I asked for weights for my Sweet 16. So I'm a little different, but I was never discouraged. And I think that that feeling of we belong, doing whatever we wanted to do, carried me through a career when often people didn't think I belonged there.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that I was raised to just believe in myself.
Yeah.
Just know that to just do the work, tune them out and just do what you were brought in to do.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and what a great message to carry through as a coach today too.
Definitely. Well, definitely. I think that there's a term I use, I've coined called an inherited beliefs.
Oh.
And it's the concept that you let other people's stories become your stories.
Yeah.
There can be stories that, you shouldn't be here because you're a woman or because you're a person of color or because of religion or orientation. And we start adopting those. And you have to really identify what is true and what is inherited beliefs. And there are times in my career I inherited some of those beliefs, but for the most part, I stayed to the truth that I knew I knew what I was capable of and what I could do and that I belonged.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So you went to grad school. Was that both electrical and computer?
It's electrical and computer engineering. It's one degree.
Oh, it was. Okay.
It's just a specialty inside electrical engineering.
I see. I had to get that clarified because I wouldn't know anything about that myself.
I was a chip designer outside of after I left college. I designed chips.
You designed chips,
microprocessors and things. That was what I did after college. Yeah.
Got it. Tell us more. So you worked in the sort of, I guess, high tech corporate sector for a number of years, and then you moved more into the startup realm. Is that correct?
Yeah. When I was at TRW, I thought that was going to be my career forever. But one of the challenges when you work for the government is if a project's funded, you get overtime. If it's not, you don't. And I just thought there was a lot of inequity. And it was nobody's fault. It's just whatever programs are available when you're available. And so I wanted to move into a career where if I'm going to work overtime, I'm going to get paid. I moved into something called applications engineering, which is I was the technical support for salespeople at Intel. I was the only woman in the world doing it at the time. I may have been the first, but I was the only one for a while. So that was interesting. And that had its own set of challenges of wonderful people and several that thought I was supposed to be home popping out babies and not.
Oh my goodness.
Not doing that. Yes, it was interesting. And then I wanted to move into sales, but at that point, a lot of companies didn't think engineers made good salespeople. And I did a pitch for one of our partners who was a startup who had no salespeople. And they said, we think you have all the qualities, and offered me to move to sales. And it was a startup. I was employee number 23.
Wow.
And walked away from, the golden handcuffs of Intel stock and went to my first startup. And that was one of 7.
So what made you want to go into sales after you had this, let's say steady trajectory in this more highly technical field? What intrigued you about sales?
I love learning and I love trying different things. So when I after, 6 years of doing that, I was probably 10 years in the technical realm. I watched a lot of salespeople, and first off, I saw them not understanding what they were selling. And I felt there was value that I could add there. I mean, there were some really good ones. I don't want to characterize, but I saw some that didn't really know what they were doing. But it was just a new challenge. It was a new opportunity. I'm also a big fan of owning my destiny. And as a sales rep, the harder I work, the more I can make and drive. And so I really liked that it was a true meritocracy based on your effort.
Wow.
And then as a startup, I mean, how cool that I helped put 7 companies on the map. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean,
yeah,
I'm very proud of, and I'm a good picker. As you said in the intro, I had seven startups, and six of them went to exits. One of them was a double hit. One went public and then got bought, so IPO and then bought. But it's pretty cool. Not too many people can say 6 out of 7 startups made it.
Right.
So I feel good. I'm very fortunate. I have some really smart people in my life that help me evaluate any company I consider.
Wow.
Working with that have always served me well. But yeah, there's just something about building something from scratch. And there's a camaraderie where everybody's in the boat and everybody wears multiple hats. Like your title does not represent. I did strategy, I did marketing, I did product management. You do a little bit of everything, and everybody does in every company. And there's something about that collective vision and that teamwork that at a startup, especially early on, is just so fun. Really fun.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine if you're in the early stages, everybody's rolling up their sleeves. I mean, I've coached some people in startups, and they're pretty much living there almost. You really have to be dedicated, but it sounds like if you were having fun, you do just about anything to help move it along. I want to point out something else you just said too, that I think is important for our audience to hear. And that is that you said, you had some good people in your life who also helped you to evaluate some of these companies as you were selecting, when you were ready to move on to a new company, that you had people in your life who helped you to make some good selections. Because, as you said, you had these 7 companies and 6 of them really, ended up doing well. And, I think that that's an important point, that most people aren't successful in a vacuum. They usually have help along the way. And so it's not just like you just, flitted around and went from company to company and it was like, oh, I'm a success here and I'm a success there. But that there were other people involved, that you didn't just do this all alone. There were people who in your life who helped you evaluate these companies and helped you or partnered with you to make some decisions about where you were going. And I encourage people to think about that when they're making a move, because I think that we live in this, very independent bootstrap kind of culture that often we forget to ask other people for their ideas or their advice or their, another pair of eyes on something.
Well, yeah, it's another pair of eyes because they're wearing different lenses, where I might be, oh, I worked with these people before. That sounds good. And to have somebody say, you know what, this really isn't an interesting technology, or there's already 20 people, or they don't have a unique value proposition, or they knew something about some of the founders, maybe their values weren't in alignment. So to have people that have a different, maybe not an emotional attachment to the outcome. Yeah, for me, it was important because, as I mentioned, I'm a curious person. I often jumped around different technologies that had nothing to do with the one I was at before. So I was coming in from a point of no knowledge. And a few times in the interviews, they called me out on that. And that's when my cheekiness and confidence came into place, when I said, well, I used to design a chip that was stamped into a piece of silicon that configured itself in flight to guide a missile. What technology will you have me learn that's more advanced than that? And that was probably my, a little bit cheekiness, but it was really like, I know everyone wants to think their technologies is the coolest thing, but I actually got to work on one of the coolest, newest technologies in the world. So for me to learn their technologies wasn't a challenge for me.
Yeah.
But it's just, there was a confidence to just be bold and just say, hey, really, really, you don't really have to worry about me learning your software.
Well, yeah, and it sounds like you had nothing to lose. It sounds like you were well connected enough at that point. You knew lots of people, and you could walk the walk and talk the talk at that point.
Yeah, sometimes it's naivete, sometimes it's arrogance, sometimes it's confidence. It fluctuates around there, but it was really the self-confidence in myself. Like we've talked about this offline, right? I'll always bet on myself.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's just really important to me, that I will bet on myself. I posted recently and talked about a story when I had a new VP at our company who just came in and told us we're all stupid and we're idiots and we don't know what we're doing. And when he was out to visit one of my accounts, I talked to him about it and was curious about his philosophy. It was a very polite conversation. And he decided to try to make my life so difficult I would quit because of that.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people would have been like, why did you bring that up? I didn't want to work for somebody that treated me like that. I did not want to be told I'm stupid when I'm one of the top performers in the company. And stupid, I might have flaws in my life, but stupid isn't one of them.
Right.
And so it's just that I knew that, I would be okay. And ironically, he and the manager that worked with him to try to get me out both got let go because they didn't reflect the values of the company.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that if I got let go, that I would be okay. There no mouths were going to starve if I got let go. But I also knew that I'd be okay because I'm qualified and good at what I do. And in coaching, we talk a lot about values, and I'd find a company that shared my values and respected my value at the same time.
Right. I love the way you're portraying, and not just portraying, but really talking about this whole topic of confidence, and I know you well enough, Alison, to know that it's like, I love the word cheeky too, but it's not confidence as bravado or as ego driven as it is that you enjoy doing the work and adding value and getting something done that will add value out there. It's not about, oh, look at me, I'm so great, as much as I know what I'm doing. I can add value. I can work well with other people and bring value to this company. And I want to do that. I want to be able to do that. And if you want me here, great. And if you don't, I'll find some other place to do it.
Yeah, it took time to get there. I wouldn't say that. I don't want it to think like I'm always that way, because nobody is like that 100% of the time.
Right.
When you have people even making jokes, even the good guys I work with, when they would make comments like I'm the woman quota, not understanding how that can impact you, because they don't know that I've already had years of people making comments like that.
Yeah.
So there's times that you lose your confidence and you try too hard and you try to prove yourself all the time. And you might try to tell everybody how great you are to prove it to them.
Yeah.
It takes a while to kind of find that balance where you actually believe it, you can internalize it, and you just know it is, and you just show up. But it wasn't always like that. It was definitely a bumpy ride to get to more of this, I'd say, steady state of confidence that I have at this point in life.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now you've burst my bubble, but that's okay.
How did I do that?
No, I'm kidding.
No, because I think you look at people and you look out there and they say, yeah, but they've just always had that, and they you don't, right? You only see, it's kind of like the Facebook profile. You only see all the good stuff, right? People aren't posting all the stuff behind there,
right?
But it's the stuff behind there, and it's the struggles that make you more relatable, and so people can see themselves in you. And so I don't want anybody to think that I always had that. It's like, no, I definitely believed other people sometimes when they told me I didn't belong there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no doubt that you've stepped into a lot of places where you might have been left feeling like you didn't belong because you were stepping into places where they were more male dominated. No doubt about it. But yet those are the places you wanted to be. But it wasn't because they were male dominated. They were things you just simply wanted to do.
Right.
And I get the feeling, though, that even when your confidence was challenged, you still kept putting one foot in front of the other.
I did. Sometimes the steps were a little slower.
Yeah. Okay.
Than others. But I think I think I've always moved forward or moved on.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, as you as you get older and as I get into coaching, and now that, identify this thing about values and values being your North Star and your compass.
Yeah.
That throughout my career, when the values were out of alignment, whether it was with the company or with the managers, as most people leave, that it was time to move on and to really focus on finding places that had a value alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Those were some of the things. I had a client lose his job during the beginning of the pandemic, and we had done this value map, and that value map became his interview questions.
Mm-hmm.
He is now at the dream job of his life, is ecstatic. He is now, he's in so much alignment with not only the company, but his teams. And it's just, those are our North Stars. And so for me, you asked earlier how I got into this coaching thing, is that at some point, my values were out of alignment with what I was doing with that. It wasn't really about money anymore. I really had a strong value about service. And it took a while to formulate what that was. But when I learned about coaching, I knew that was it. And it took me about 4 years to have the confidence from the time I knew I wanted to be a coach to actually quitting my job to do that. And the reason that happened was my dad had died, and I wasn't showing, you get to an age and that happens. And I wasn't showing up and doing a good job for the company. So they were unhappy. I was unhappy. And it was either time to go on disability or time to move on. And I decided it was time to move on. And I took my backpack and went to Guatemala and Belize for a month and did some whale shark diving and chocolate festivals and hammocks on a river in the middle of nowhere, and came back and signed up for coaching school.
Wow.
And pivoted my career to do that.
Yeah, just like everyone does. They go whale shark diving and go to chocolate festivals, and sounds great, actually. So what made you decide to go to coaching versus, I don't know, something else? Like what occurred? What was that transformation for you like? It sounds like you reached a point, I guess, in one of your last startups where you decided that the alignment just wasn't holding up for you anymore with your values, and you thought it was time to go off on your own? Or were you thinking about going to another startup? Or was there a specific
there wasn't a moment. No, there wasn't a moment. I knew, I used to say, okay, I was going to retire at 40 and become a teacher. That was the thought, right? And then it was, okay, well, maybe I want to be a psychologist. So there was an evolution of, I know, and it took me a while, really until recently, to articulate really what was that why underneath it. You're saying why, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't have a lot of support on my journey that would have made it a lot easier. I was in my head. I got in my own way. So much internally going on that if I had had somebody help me shine a light on it, make sense of it, would have been easier. And so I really wanted to be that person for others that I wish I had had on my journey. When I finally learned what coaching was, I knew that was it. So I knew, I said 4 years before after I came back from the jungles of Belize and Guatemala, I actually was interviewing for one more company. It was a unicorn, as we call it in the tech world, right? I got violently ill on the last day of the interview. I mean, literally almost went to the ER, instead had to go to the airport, and did a terrible job on the interview. And then they needed some data I didn't have. And I realized that I had been wanting to do this for so long, and I needed to have the challenges with my last company and this to hit me over the head and be like, what else do we need to tell you that your journey is done? Your body is literally shutting down at the prospect of going back to another company.
Wow.
How else, but it's scary. I mean, it is scary. I'm a one income household. There's, there's nobody else to pick up the bills for me while I'm doing it. But I did have the confidence because of the startups. I had some ability to do that, but it was scary to do that. A lot of people, when they start their own business, they do it on the side,
right,
while working until they build it up. And I just cut the cord.
Yeah,
it was pretty scary, and
that's
it was
pretty bold.
Yeah,
that was pretty bold.
I'll always bet on me. So
I know you will. You said something about not feeling like you had the support to do that. Had you been talking to people in your life about possibly leaving the company?
Oh, no, it wasn't that. I didn't have financial support is what I meant.
Okay.
So there's nobody I don't have at the time I was single. And so there was nobody else that was paying the mortgage or the car payment.
Got it.
the new car I bought that 6 months earlier, because I hadn't thought I would be making a big life change all of a sudden and give up a multi-six-figure income, right?
Yeah.
So it was definitely, jumping off the cliff and trying to figure out how to build the parachute on the way down.
Wow. So you left your job and you went for coaching training at that point and really devoted yourself to that before you even started a coaching practice then.
Yes, on the side, through connections, that helped me start a small consulting business. So I do startup strategy work, and I got to be a analyst at a VC. So I got to do my Shark Tank every week and I consider myself the Mark Cuban of it, right? And so I got to have so much fun just analyzing companies every week and doing that. So I was doing that to support myself, which was challenging in itself because nobody gives you a map and says, okay, this is how you be a consultant and this is how you find a client and this is how you put together a package for it. And I gave a lot of people a lot of money initially to try to help me doing it and made some bad choices along the way and also had some good choices, but I wasn't able to see I wasn't able to get out of my own way enough at the time to do that. And so it took a while to figure it out and to kind of have the stars aligned to figure out what this coaching thing is going to be for me.
So, I have this image of you and tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you have this trajectory of, being a great student and getting these degrees and you're on the corporate path. And then you have this string of startups that have all done fairly well. And, it sounds like, at least from the outside looking in, a picture of a string of successes. And then you decide something's got to give and you make this change. And it feels like the wheels on the wagon are a little clunky for a while. How that must have felt like almost an out-of-body experience for you in some ways. It really is. It's so much easier when you have to stand out there and represent a company, and now you're the company, right? You're the product. Yeah. And that was very, very new for me because I had a lot of confidence, but I had a lot of confidence because I had these really great products to support it. Yeah.
Now I'm the great product or the product, hoping to be the great product.
Yeah.
And it was really hard. And it challenged my abilities all the time about, can I do this? I keep hearing from people, you're a great coach, but it's like when you graduate from coaching school, they don't give you a map, just like when you try to be a consultant of how to build a business. And there's a lot of people out there willing to take your money to teach you how to build a business.
Yeah.
And it was tough. It was, I have failed at things before in my life. I have not hit goals that I have set for myself in my athletics or some of my finances. So I know what it's like to be disappointed, but this was definitely a unique struggle because it wasn't, and my mom said to me once, why don't you just go get a job? I'm like, no, I'll drive Uber. I've been offered some management, VP, even interview for a CEO role. And I just was very clear that I am not going back to full time. And I have some consulting clients that still think they're going to hire me back, convince me to come back full time.
Yeah.
But I know that my path is coaching and I know that there is work for me to be done. And I think, about last year, I had a health scare and I almost lost my life and spent a big part of last year, rebuilding literally from learning how to walk again to everything. And that just strengthened my commitment that my work here isn't done and that I can help people have an easier path than I did. So that what looks like smooth on the outside, it's like that duck underneath that I can help them smooth that road out for them. So I'm very much even more committed than I ever was. That I know it's a second chance to do this work.
How long had you been in business for yourself before you had that health scare?
2.5 years.
Oh, okay. So right at that sort of mark where people start to hit their stride.
Yep.
And then everything pretty much stopped. Right?
Yeah, I had finished up all my clients and stopped marketing intentionally because this was a high risk surgery. And I didn't want, to be honest, the sad thing is somebody was managing my estate and having to figure out how to pay people back.
Yeah.
So I had brought everything to a complete halt in about the March timeframe. Then I had my surgery at the end of May and then months in the hospital and all that. So it was just in about October that I had the energy to really go back full time.
Yeah. So how's it going now for you?
It's great. Well, first off, I am fully recovered. And
Yay!
someone who had to learn to walk again, 2 weeks ago, I hiked a couple miles into the Grand Canyon. So I think we can say I am healed. My heart, which was the problem, it got the clean bill of health also 2 weeks ago. So physically, I am fantastic. And now
That's
get back to it.
Just incredible. I mean, such good news. I mean, more than good news. It's fantastic news.
It's fantastic news. And it's like now back to my regularly scheduled life. And, and except for a pandemic, but yes. And
that.
But what happened when I relaunched was really figuring out the focus. As you know, as a coach, we're kind of like, it's like having a general degree, right? You can kind of coach anybody, but who is it? And really took a while. And I have an amazing, amazing coach that helped me finally figure out who is that person that I can serve the deepest.
Yeah. And
what are the lessons that I've learned that I can really share the most? And it really is about confident communication for women in tech. And people like, is that effective communication? I'm like, well, that's half of it, right? There's confidence. Right. And there's times that I was a confident communicator, but I wasn't effective because I didn't understand that. And there's times I was effective, but it still terrified me. So I look at confident communication as that merger of confidence and effectiveness, and making sure that you get the message across, you get heard, you get seen, you get to be visible.
Right.
And it could be a founder going for funding as a woman who is doing this for the first time.
Yeah.
Or I've worked with executives have amazing careers, but have something that's putting them out of their comfort zone, that's making them doubt themselves. And so really what the gift of what happened to me is it really got me to focus in a way that I hadn't done before, is who am I called to serve?
Right.
Powerfully.
Yeah. And so that's really your target now, is that group of women, right?
Yeah, I work with founders, leaders, aspiring leaders who are really looking to, I say, find their voice so they can maximize their impact and the company's impact.
Right.
It does show that companies with effective communication strategies have a 47% more return over 5 years. So there is not just, hey, I'm a better communicator. It actually helps the company.
Right.
As well.
Right. That's great. Oh, it's a wonder. The other thing I was thinking about as you were talking about this is the distinction between what you were doing before and what you're doing as a coach, and what a bold move it was, between trying to sell a product versus selling, a service that's not really tangible. It's not the same thing, and you took a really bold move.
Well, most people that go out on their own do, right? I think that it's different, like for some consultants that say, well, I do this for Oracle, and it's very much, they can define their lane so clearly. Or they have, an executive title that opens doors for them a little more smoothly. But it was tough, but I knew I'd figure it out. I knew I'd be okay no matter what happened.
Right.
I knew that I had gotten my ducks in a row financially. I'm fortunate that I'm a flip-flop and t-shirt girl, so my needs are very simple. I'm a beach girl. I need airline. As long as I can fly somewhere, I'm fine staying in a hut, right?
Right.
But I knew that I'd be okay. I don't know what I didn't know what it was going to look like or how it was going to show up, but I knew it would be okay, and that's what kept me going.
Yeah. So what is it looking like today now? I know you're doing one-on-one coaching, but you're also doing some work with groups. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'm doing one-on-one coaching. I coach men and women, who are wanting to improve their, is anybody who has their own business, right? You have to market to a specific, because that helps people identify you. But that doesn't mean other people are like, well, can you help me with this?
Right.
So I work with, leaders who want to improve their effectiveness and as well as their presence, or want to work on either filling into the role they're in or growing into their next role.
Yeah.
But I also was trying to figure out, how can I touch more people?
Yeah.
And not everybody, is an executive that can afford this luxury of one-on-one coaching.
Right.
And so I'm literally just launching, as we're talking, a Facebook group called Confident Communications for Women Confident Communication for Women Founders, Leaders, and Entrepreneurs. It's going live in the next couple of days. So by the time this comes out, it will probably be
live. Be out. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of free content, a lot of lessons, a lot of guests, focusing on, I believe there's 4 stages of confident communication. We'll talk about that. I have a success framework. They'll get so lots of free content, and that'll also be a feeder into group programs.
Great.
And so May 1st, we're going to have the first 12-week confident communication group program. That's really going to help people do that. And this one will be open for everybody. And then we're going to have specific ones in the future for founders. And then for solopreneurs, because they're all different challenges in communication. Wow. And so I'm really excited that I get to support more people at one time than I am today.
Well, we'll make sure in the show notes to include links to the Facebook group and all of that so people can find you, and links to your website. Is there anything else that we want to make sure people can find that you're up to these days?
I think that's good. LinkedIn, I put a lot of stuff on LinkedIn.
Okay, great.
I also have a mailing list. I'm not really good at sending out things regularly, so you won't get spammed with me. But if you go to the TuesdayTruth.com, which is the name of my video series, you can get on my mailing list. I also have my YouTube channel is also Confident Communication.
Great.
So, that's, the branding. There's other people with that, so you got to make sure it's actually me.
Yeah.
For it. But just getting that message out there. Everybody consumes information differently. So covering all bases. But I do want to share an interesting fact with you that I forgot to mention earlier.
Oh my goodness. Go for it. So
I had interviewed 40 female leaders in tech that were VP or C level before I got sick. And 80% of them said they still don't always feel like they deserve to be in the room.
Yep.
And I think what's important about that is that for those people who are wondering how they can go in their career with those feelings, these women still have those feelings, but yet there's VPs and C levels. So don't let it stop you. Join our group and we're going to help you feel like you deserve to be in the room.
Yeah.
But know that these amazing women, even though they felt like that, never let it stop them from continuing to take those steps forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of feeling that is one thing. How you channel that is another.
Right. And the only way you're going to start to feel like you belong in the room is by being in the room. Right.
Yes. And just accepting the fact that not everybody has to want you there to believe, to deserve to be there.
And you're not a mind reader. They may absolutely believe you need to be in the room. It may be all in your head too.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. There's one of my favorite coaches, Rick Tamlin, would say, if the stories in our head are all made up anyway, why don't we make up good stories?
Oh, I love Rick Tamlin. That's great. Well, that is a perfect note on which to complete this interview. So, Alison, thank you so much for being here today. I love your story and I love the lessons that you're sharing with people, and looking forward to sharing it with everybody else.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Alison Arnoff. It was so interesting to speak with her and learn about her personal and professional journey. What is your key takeaway from our interview? If you are interested in any of the resources mentioned in today's podcast, you can find them on the blog page of my website at tammygoolerloeb.com. Just look for episode 133. Are you anticipating your next professional move? Perhaps you're feeling just a little stuck right now. Get specialized group and individualized support, insights, and accountability from a brilliant mix of professional women in a safe, non-judgmental creative space. Join one of my small mastermind coaching groups starting on a rolling basis. You can learn more at https://bit.ly/navigating career change. If you were inspired by this episode with Alison, please share it with your friends and colleagues, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd love to read your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find through my website at tammygoolerloeb.com/podcast. Just click on the Apple Podcast button and follow the instructions provided there. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. Let me know how it's going for you. I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.